Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 175, The Fate of the Furious, Lap 8. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Amacool and their battery-operated stroller fan with flexible tripod clip-on fan designed for the baby. It has a flexible tripod legs that's versatile and easy to clip on most strollers, cribs, or carriages. Shout out to Amacool.
Well, shout out to Amacool and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. After the break, we will be joined by Heather Antos once again to talk about the fate of the Furious. But Joe, first up, extracurricular activities. What have you been up to in the last week?
Oh, a bunch of stuff. We got our new couches yesterday. We put them together. I sent you pictures. And I'm really enjoying this new setup of the living room that we have. I'm sitting on one of them right now. It's nice and comfy. So Rachel got her first dose of the vaccine today.
Very cool.
And the last thing is we watched the movie Mank.
Okay.
Right after we finished it, Rachel saw this great tweet that was like, I would have much rather had season 3 of Mindhunter.
Yeah. Did you guys like Mank or no?
I really liked the character of Mank more so than the movie itself. Like the movie
so
wasn't bad.
for people who don't know, Mank is about the writing of the screenplay of Citizen Kane, and the script for the movie Mank was written by David Fincher's father.
So the character of Mank and the story of Mank was cool. The movie itself, overall, like, this was one that I felt like there was a lot of, like, inside baseball. Like, there was, like, a lot of, like, old Hollywood jokes in there that, like, I just don't get. So, like, none of this made any sense to me. Like, the movie's leading you to be like, okay, like, look, it's this guy, haha. And I'm like, I don't know who that guy is, so it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
In that sense, a lot was lost on me, so I can't, like, really blame it. The character of Mank himself was awesome. He's, like, the guy that wrote it that, like, Orson Welles kind of, gets credit for it, but he pretty much wrote it all himself. So that part was cool. And like, what else? We liked the score of it. We thought the score was nice, and like it looked decent, but it was in black and white. Overall, decent movie. It got a ton of fucking nominations, though.
Yeah, it leads. I think it had 9 nominations. I think it leads all movies. I appreciate Mank. I don't like Mank, but then again, like I haven't really liked Fincher's last 3 or 4 movies the first time I've seen them. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I think it just takes longer for me to actually get into them. I don't know. So, like, I think I would like it more on second time, but I understand why people do love it, but I was not a huge fan of Mank.
It was cool to watch. Like, it was a decent movie, but I'm like, 9 nominations for, like, all of these other things. And, like, the story's cool, but at the same time, it's like...
Well, I think a lot of the nominations were for technical awards, and I think it deserves those, but also Best Picture and Best Director and probably Best Actor and probably Best Screenplay, so
yeah,
I
think it's all those, too. And I was like, okay. I think Gary Oldman was pretty good in it, so...
I thought Amanda Seyfried was great in her part as the support. She was the blonde.
The blonde one, yeah. She was really good too. I agree. There was like things I liked about it, but overall I wasn't like super like thrilled with this movie. So that's how I felt.
Anything else in the last week?
No, Temptation Island is wrapping up. They did their overnight dates last night. So that's like the last step. Like you pick like one person on the island to like spend the night with. That's really awesome. There should be some fucking chaos next week for the finale. Like when they like re-bring the couples back together after they've just seen them just, making out in video with other people. So I'm ready for the fireworks next Tuesday.
Well, get your popcorn ready as this episode comes out on the main feed. Tune into
the finale of Temptation Island, yes.
Super cool. This past weekend, I spent 10 hours watching The Godfather. I watched the 7-hour cut, like what they call the saga or the conversation or whatever it is, the 7-hour, like the chronological cut. Because I'd never seen that before. The reason I watched that, other than I just wanted to see it again, was because in December, they had released the Coda, the recut of 3. Did you hear about this?
Vaguely. I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like I heard about it, but I don't know what it is, and like to tell you. Go ahead.
So Coppola recut Godfather 3 to make it better. And so on Mike's podcast last year sometime, he and Brian talked about The Godfather 3, and then last month in March, they talked about Coda. They just sort of revisited it. It's better. I don't think 3 is a bad movie. 3 gets a really bad rap. People hate 3, but I don't think 3 is bad. I think 3 is only bad when you compare it to the first 2, but the first 2 are like the 2 best movies that have ever been made, right? So like it's hard to compare anything to those. People shit on 3. Have you seen 3 or no?
I've seen all of them. at 1 and 2 way more than 3. Like, I've seen 3 probably, like, once through in bits and pieces if it's on TV. Like, definitely not more than once straight through, like, as a watch.
So people give 3 a lot of shit because Coppola cast his daughter, Sofia Coppola, who's now the acclaimed director of, like, Lost in Translation and all those movies, as Mary, as Michael's daughter. Winona was cast in the role and had to drop out like a week or two before they started shooting because of conflicts, and so he recast that part to be his daughter, and she's not great in the movie. I don't think she's bad, but I can understand why people are like, oh my god, she's the worst part of that. It's like, I get it. So in the recut, he makes Michael a little bit more active. It's more like, okay, so The Godfather, the first 2 movies are like what happens, like the sort of the transition of power from Vito to Michael, and then Coda's like, and this is where things are now, kind of, right? So it's not exactly like, it is like a full installment, like it's a 2.5-hour movie, but it's more of like a follow-up, and so he becomes more of an active participant, I think, in trying to get absolution for his actions. And also they kind of, remove Mary a little bit. Like they kind of tone down a little bit of the Sofia Coppola. And I think it's better. Like, I think it's a really good movie. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm never gonna watch 3. I heard 3 sucks. It's like, well, it doesn't. It's actually really good.
Yeah.
It's just not as good as the first 2. But I wanted to watch the Coda, which is 2.5 hours. And I was like, let me just watch the 7-hour cut because it's on VHS, like it was on TV, like they had recut it a couple times. Like, I don't exactly know what it's called or, where to get it. Like, but it's interesting because, like, how the second one, it shows it's like a prequel and a sequel to the first one. So like the first one is, Vito gets, so spoilers for The Godfather.
Yeah.
But, like Vito gets shot, and so Michael has to take, and Sonny gets killed, and Michael takes over and whatever. Yeah. And so the second one is a prequel in that it shows Vito getting to America as Robert De Niro, growing up to Robert De Niro, and then a sequel in like Michael trying to, become legitimate and move out to Vegas and whatever. But the chronological cut is interesting because like De Niro's in the first like hour and then just never comes back. It's like, oh, right? Okay. Like it's kind of weird. And like, I think some things work better chronologically, and I think some things don't work. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to watch these, just watch them as movies. Like watch 1 and then watch 2 and then watch Coda. I think it's great. But it was just one of those like, okay, so I have 10 hours. So I watched like 5 hours of it on Saturday. And then I woke up and I finished the 7-hour thing on Sunday morning. And then I watched the Coda on Sunday night. So just like, with the Yankee game in between. So just like, there's, not a lot of other time for other stuff. But
that's cool though.
I recommend it. If you've not seen The Godfather, check it out. It's pretty good.
Thanks.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I started watching a new show on Amazon. I've only seen 1 episode yet, so I can't really talk too much about it. I'm going to watch the 2nd episode tonight. But there's a show. Do you know about the show Invincible?
No. I mean, I see, again, this is something that, like, I see promos for everything on Amazon because I use a Fire TV. Right. So maybe, but maybe not.
So Invincible is based on a comic book. So Robert Kirkman, who created the Walking Dead comic and also the show, created this comic called Invincible, where it's the son, it's kind of a coming of age story of a son who's the son, or of a boy who's the son of the most powerful superhero on Earth getting powers. And so in the first episode, he gets powers.
Okay.
I think the first season is like 8 episodes, and they dropped 3 episodes the first day, and then it's 1 a week after that. So I think right now, as we record, 4 are out. The 5th one comes out this Friday. So by the time this hits the main feed, there will be 5 of the 8 out. But I'm enjoying it. Like I almost don't want to talk about it.
Is it 30 minutes or an hour?
It's 45. There's no commercials, but it's 45. Yeah. So it's like it's closer to a full hour. There's a very drastic tonal shift in the first episode where I'm like, okay, like this is interesting. Like there's something, because I've been getting good reviews. Like the voice acting, because it's animated, is stacked. Like it's a crazy number of people that, even like in big parts and small parts, whatever. Like it's amazing how many people that got to act in this. And I'm like, this is good, but it's not, I don't really see. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting now. So
okay, cool.
If you don't have superhero burnout, check it out. Because on Prime for free.
As us talking, did you watch Captain America and
Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I've seen the first 2, so I'm 2 behind on that.
Okay, so it's not like done yet either.
There are 6 in total.
There's gonna be 6 total. There's 4
so next Friday, next Friday the 23rd, I think is the finale.
Cool. Okay, so now it's about time for me to start it. Then.
Yeah, you have essentially like 10 days until the final episode or something. Yeah.
That's okay. That could be like a weekend project.
As this episode comes out, in 3 days, the finale will air.
Perfect. I don't mind waiting like 1 week or 2 weeks, but I can't wait 8 weeks or 6 weeks. Like I have to be able to watch like 4 to decide whether or not I like it. It feels different committing to 4 in one night as it does to 4 across 4 weeks. I mean, like obviously I'm gonna watch it because it's the fucking Marvel shit, right? Like if you watch one, you
Right.
can watch them all. But at the same time, I'm like, just let me stack them so I can watch a bunch and then be ready for the finale. So
And there is a loose sort of connection to the Fastiverse. Sort of, this is a very vague and not exactly accurate. It is accurate, but a vague sort of loose connection to the Fastiverse that you will see. I don't think you'll recognize it at the end of the first episode, and I don't even know if you'll recognize it when it's more apparent in the second episode, but
Probably not.
once you start watching it, I will let you know.
okay, cool, thank you. Yeah, you'll have to remind me. We were just watching something, and I like looked at Rachel. I was like, "Oh yeah," like, and I like said something, and she was like, "You didn't recognize that guy till then, huh?" And I was like, "Nope. We've played this game a million times over." So
Right. Yeah, I don't even know if you know who this person is, but, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Cool.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else of note. I don't know that there is. So, we have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke Hayden, Renato DiDonato, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Tez. Thank you all so much for supporting the $5 level or above. Joe, like the last two episodes, pick a number between 1 and 8. I think you did 3 and you did 6. So pick another number.
Then I'm going to take 8, 6, 8, my birthday.
Our undying love and affection. If you sign up at toofast2forever.com, we will love you forever and ever and ever. Thank you. Amen. Michael, do you renounce Satan? I do renounce him. Boom. But yeah, toofast2forever.com. We do episodes early, bonus episodes. Yeah. We put out a bonus episode recently with Mr. Baseball. We got an exciting thing to announce at the end of this episode. To tease. Next week's episode is part of a larger development, which we will talk about.
Oh, I remember that part now. Okay, cool.
Stay tuned for that at the end of this episode with toofast2forever.com for the Patreon, please and thank you. So, okay, we have an email address, family@cageclub.me, and Joe, I think I wanted, this episode in particular, I want to invert this, and before we do the mailbag, I want to do On the Streets. Because
that's a good idea.
Almost all the mail is about one thing that happened on the streets, and it's a thing that we are going to be in a predicament for the next 10 weeks? End of June, right? Next 10 weeks.
I think so.
Because the second full trailer came out for F9 today, and I have not watched it, and I do not plan to watch it because you watched it,
yes.
And you said, do not watch it.
We were actually talking, it was me, you, and Wes, and you were saying about how the trailer's coming out, and I said, guys, I'll take one for the team. I'll give this a watch. I was like, you guys should probably not watch that. Not because there's spoilery things in it, but those things you're not going to be able to avoid, right?
I've already had two sort of big things spoiled, both via social media.
Go ahead,
and
you
also
can say them, because if you had them spoiled, then go ahead.
I guess, yeah. If you're listening, we're not going to overtly talk about the trailer.
No.
So if you don't want like minutia spoiled, you're fine.
Yes.
If you don't want anything spoiled, I guess you jump ahead a little bit.
Good luck.
Also, good luck, yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that they are closing in on space, which we knew from Ludacris running his mouth.
Yes.
And I also know that there are magnets, which apparently this whole trailer is about magnets, because we knew that from the Super Bowl commercial that there were magnets in that. You're like, oh, that looks like a magnet, right? So
yes,
we knew those two things, but that seems to be like the two big takeaways.
Those are the two biggest spoilers that will get picked up by like Slash Film and stuff like that. The reason that I told you not to watch this is because I know that we spend so much time watching the Fast and the Furious Minute, and it has trained my brain and eyes to look for very, very subtle clues of things because we watch the scenes over and over again, and we like start piecing things together that we might not have seen.
So did you watch this trailer once or more than once?
Only once.
Okay.
And even in watching the trailer only once as the sacrificial lamb that I was being, I watched it, and I started to notice minutia that I was like, these could mean very interesting things.
Okay.
If I see this, that means that X, Y, and Z must have happened, or X, Y, and Z will happen. We're so ingrained in this, and we've seen these so many times.
Right.
And there's so many things that we've talked about on the periphery of Fast and the Furious that some of those things might get answered. That would be interesting to talk about with you, but I don't think that it's worth you spoiling it and also thinking about this, because what's going to be the fun if we go into Fast and Furious 9 and we predict everything that happened, knowing everything that happened or predicted everything that happened? So the only thing that can come out of this is that you learn way too much, that you get the set pieces spoiled, because it's again 3.5 minutes, and I think that it probably shows from my guess now, like the two biggest action sequences. I know that no matter how hard, like unless you didn't look at it and just listen to it, there's no way that you wouldn't catch some of the things that I caught. The cool thing about it, and the thing that I wanted to tell you and I've been expressing to you, is that it seems like it's gonna be awesome for us. Specifically, like everything that we want to see, Justin Lin coming back is very apparent throughout it. And I won't express more.
So paintball subplot confirmed.
Yeah, who is the guy from Community? Who's the main guy? What's his name?
Joel McHale.
Joel McHale. Yeah, Joel McHale's in the trailer. No, but like Justin Lin being back is very apparent, more so than 8. There's like a lot of things that we've talked about that Justin Lin does in his movies that seems to be the exact direction that he's going. So in that sense, I think it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. I'm super hype. All of you guys have been messaging us, emailing us, everything. Everybody seems super hype about it. I absolutely agree. I'm trying to save Joey from the minutia spoilers that I'm seeing.
So here is a request to you, dear listeners. Don't spoil shit via email or on social media.
No,
and if you need to talk about it, direct message Joe somewhere.
For sure.
Either on our Facebook page, message there, or figure out another way. But like, I'm trying to remain at least relatively pure. Our boy Jason tweeted a picture at us, which I saw other places too.
Exactly.
I think
Maybe
I think actually probably saw on his Instagram as well. So I only saw it via him.
You were gonna see it. It's gonna get picked. Like
I was probably gonna see it.
Space is gonna get picked up. Magnets, because they like even say magnets this time, even though we kind of assumed it was magnets from the last one. So like, yeah, those kind of things. But I don't even think that those are the biggest spoilers that I saw, because I was looking at different things that I was noticing, and I was like, oh shit. And like, there's something that I really think is a huge thing that like I don't want to tell you about, that like I'm excited to talk to you about, but like it's not worth ruining for you. So,
well, there's
like,
one other thing that I know that
what
I've seen on Jason's stuff again, as well as just how the trailer begins and also the tagline that they're using. So I know that they go back to 1327, which we knew.
We knew that. Yeah.
And I also know that like there's some kind of Brian might be back in some way or something. That's also I know from Jason's stuff. I don't know the context. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but you know, I'm trying to stay pure. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be surprised, because it's hard to be surprised anymore.
It is hard to be surprised anymore, especially with something like this. But I think if you have a shot, now's probably your shot. The trailer looks fucking awesome, and I can't be more excited. It really looks like this is going to be wonderful for us. You know, like as teetering as we were on 8, you know, like 8's good, but like whatever. And like Hobbs and Shaw was a lot of fun, but that doesn't really feel like a main installment of this feels like it's going to be main installment of Fast and Furious, everything we want.
Well, I mean, I love 8 now. Like I genuinely love 8 now.
This one looks like it's going to hit like 5.
Wow, that's strong statement. That's
what I'm saying. Like going into it, this is what it feels like. This is what it's looking and feeling like. It looks like it's like trying to hit that.
Wow. Okay. What will also certainly hit level, Fast 5 levels is this Friday, as we're recording, Spy Racers Season 4 out on Netflix. Yeah. So as you listen to this, the season is available. I thought we had completely forgotten this. You think we might have talked about it? I don't know if we did or not.
I'm convinced that we talked about it, but I have no
I don't think
proof
that we did.
You're probably right, yeah. And Wes said that he didn't hear us talk about it, so
our plan right now is to just do one episode, but we're going to do it with Nico and Keva. So we got to figure out when to do that. We'll drop it as a bonus episode, because I just didn't factor into the schedule, because like a month ago they're like, hey, there's more. It's like,
yes,
okay.
And then you don't hear anything else about it for a month, and then they're like, it releases Friday, and you're like, fuck, okay.
Mm-hmm. So Spy Racers Season 4 out Friday, April 16th. Whenever you're listening to this, that's probably either today or in the past. If you want to listen, if you want that to be today, toofast2forever.com. Any other news that you've seen about the Fastiverse?
The trailer just ate everything, so.
Mailbag, family@cageclub.me. We've got a handful of emails, some that I'm just straight up not going to read, so we'll figure that out.
We love you guys, and thank you for writing in, and thank you for talking about the trailer. Joey kind of like copied and pasted some of them straight to me without reading them. And yes, I'm very excited about the trailer too. But I'm hoping that he doesn't read them, because I'm trying not to spoil it for him. So thank you.
Yes. So our first email from Hector. This is from right after we recorded the last episode from last week. Subject line: replacement answer question for minute 3. So this is the Too Fast, Too Furious minute document. The question that we asked about what happened to the 4th driver.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes. I do remember.
The question verbatim was, why does Tej call Brian to fill in for a missing racer in the film's opening race? Hector says, change the answer. There wasn't a fourth driver to he was busy shooting a porno. I'll write in for an update on some other day. Viva Too Fast, Too Forever. And then he puts a picture of the girl from Suki's crew that has porn on her shirt. So, you know, it's in universe shooting a porno.
It's in universe, yeah.
Jerry sends in an email that is F9 trailer 2. That's what I copied and pasted to you. I am not going to read that. So sorry, Jerry, but also...
I'm with you, Jerry. I agree, though. I'm hyped, too.
Alex sends an email called Fast 9 Magnets. So I'm going to copy and paste this last paragraph, because I read the first two, and I'm like, ooh, it's teetering. Read that, please, to yourself. See if that's okay for me to read.
Yeah, no, it's not okay for you to read.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Well, let me read the email up to that point, and then you can share your thoughts on that paragraph.
Okay.
He says, here's the new trailer for Fast 9. Please actually open this. Probably no spoilers. And what it is, it's the Insane Clown Posse fucking magnets. How do they work video.
It's the first thing I said when you were saying magnets today, but yes.
So I generally avoid trailers for things I know I'm going to see, but Instagram caught me at a weak moment, and I watched the new trailer that released today, and the trailer is basically a 3-minute long ICP meme.
Yes,
and then it's the magnets thing. So then I did not read this last paragraph. What am I avoiding?
I did not specifically notice this, but that would make a lot of sense. He makes a notice of something that happened in the trailer that's like a small minutia part. Is this leading us to believe something else will happen later in the movie, as they like to do? I agree, because we've seen pretty much that exact same blueprint before. So, yes, I agree, Alex. Sorry for everyone else for being vague, but just deal, okay? Just know that there's, like, some small parts of the movie that look like they're going to be playing bigger parts in the later movie. Alex made a really good spot. I agree.
If you want to know, message our Facebook page or message Alex.
Or me.
Joe.
Yeah, yep. Either one.
And the last email from Montez, subject line, catching up. I know this one's safe to read because it's Montez and she is not caught up on anything. Even though this came in today. Okay. Turbo episode. I've always had black olives on tacos. If I'm making tacos at home and it doesn't have black olives, it's not complete. So you were saying I can't believe that I've never even seen black olives in tacos. I'm like, Mose has them. But Montez apparently all about it.
Interesting. Nachos, yes. Tacos, I'm not sure. But okay.
She says, monster trucks. I went to a monster truck rally once when I was in 5th grade, and it was an experience, ... And that's all she says.
Okay.
Answering a question you asked recently, my dude is only 1.5. He's been obsessed with cars and things with wheels since he was about 7 months old, specifically lawnmowers.
Kids like vacuum cleaners and like all kinds of weird shit like that. Lawnmowers. You can get them. Well, I guess you can't get them. I was like, you can get them one of those push mowers. Then I'm like, well, that's just like knives on a thing that spins. Probably not the best for small children.
Well, it's like the opening of Frankenhooker, which is a wonderful horror movie that's set in Hohokus, New Jersey, which is near where I went to college. And it opens with this guy making his girlfriend's father for his birthday or Father's Day or something, a self-driving lawnmower that accidentally goes rogue and runs over his girlfriend and chops her to bits and pieces. So he spends the rest of the movie trying to find the perfect body parts to recreate his girlfriend. So what I'm saying is lawnmowers are dangerous.
Lawnmowers are dangerous, especially for very small children. I don't think about these things like... I know that probably sounded pretty outrageous to people with children, but, like, I don't ever have fucking children around me, so I never have to think about what is dangerous or not to children.
Spoiler, everything's dangerous.
Yes, everything is dangerous, but at the same time, I'm always like, oh, like, a kid would really like this, and I'm like, no, probably not. That sounds a really bad idea for children, so. She
says, I'm so glad you both got my postcards. I'm trying to revive Postcard Club over here. I'm not sure why I didn't do this at the beginning of the pandemic, so I'm trying to make up for lost time.
I loved it. It really made my day. Thank you so much. Rachel's mom sends a lot of postcards. Like, I think I told you about one of them that just, like, she sent us a postcard and she was like, don't eat here, or something. You know what I, like,
sure.
And then sometimes, like, her and her friends get drunk and they'll just, like, I'll be like, hey, and, like, it'll just be, like, 50 different handwritings of, like, hello, and she just puts that in the middle. Like, it's just
pretty cool.
It's awesome. It's great, yeah. Like, it makes me really happy because you just get a postcard and it's like, we had fun tonight, and then that's it. It's just like you got, like, a group text from a bunch of people you don't know, so.
And the final note, she says, not to bury the lead, but we've made it. I'm all caught up. It's been a journey. No. Now time to watch all the movies and the other podcasts I've been neglecting. Stay safe and much love from Virginia, Montez. Well, congratulations, Montez.
Congrats.
I hope you've heard all of the Patreon bonus episodes, too. I wonder if that's been the case or not, because you might be 4 or 5 back that you've not heard yet.
Yeah, you gotta go listen to them, because it gets super wild.
Only every once in a while. Only when Brian's on.
You didn't hear the beginning of the new Twilight episode, right? Yeah,
It's not out
definitely
yet.
not yet. Brian like starts the episode out like that, and Kate's like, "What is this thing you're doing with the microphone?" I was like, "I think he's just used to like being," because we had just recorded Gung Ho like right before it, and
Mhm.
he was like doing the voice to start the thing. So there's like a whole bit at the beginning about that.
That comes out Monday the 26th. So next week on the main feed. Monday, you figured it out. Look at the calendar. I can't do
Yeah.
this math anymore. I can't do the dates anymore.
Same.
But Brian's episode 200 comes out Monday the 19th. So either yesterday or next week, depending on when you're listening to this. So very, very exciting. Congratulations to Brian.
Congrats, Brian.
He doesn't listen to this.
Nope. Fruity Food Man himself.
That's all the emails today. Family@cageclub.me. Thank you all for writing in. If you want to write in family@cageclub.me, we'll read it on the next episode. Joe, Young Rock, episode, I want to say 6. My baby only drinks the good
It's
stuff.
8. It's episode 8.
8. Whoa, shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, you're right.
Well, I mean, I saw it on Hulu when I played it. It was like episode. I was like, Rachel's at episode 7. She was like, no, I think we watched that one. I was like, okay, episode 8 it is. So
I'm still enjoying the show, but I'm beginning to get a little tired of like, this is when I learned this lesson. And this is about
Yes,
being
yes.
honest, which I felt like you already learned to be honest. So I
And
don't,
he
I
already
don't know.
learned to be poor too. So I don't know what this episode where it fit, but he was carrying the story along, I guess.
I'm glad that they gave Karen the self-awareness. So this is about, he's trying to impress Karen again. He's trying to get back
Yes.
with Karen, trying to, still carry out the charade that he is wealthy. And at the end, he's like, oh, here's my house. And she's like, no, this is the mayor's house. Like, I've thrown up here or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like that she admits that she's shallow,
Yes.
but she's more upset that he lied to her. And I think that's kind of a cool, like, yeah, this girl is kind of the stereotypical, again, not that she is, but stereotypical, like, dumb, hot high school girl, right? And
Yes.
but she's more than that. Maybe just slightly more than that, but smart enough to know, no, like you lied to me. That matters more. Like, I'm not happy that you're poor, but like I would have been okay with it if you were honest about it, right? So
Yes. This kind of foiled something that I was thinking, that like the one woman that she cleans the house for is Karen's mom, because he now has gone to Karen's house, and if he didn't recognize that that's the house that he stole the purse from,
right.
then it's probably not her mom. We learned that Karen has a twin sister for God only knows what reason so far.
Identical twin sister, yep.
Yeah, identical twin sister. Don't know. Don't get it. Rocky's dad was trying to like reinvigorate his love with his mom because she's mad at him. There was something egregious that happened in this episode, though. Do you have any more that you want to talk about this episode?
Well, I think it's very funny that, like, last episode you were like, okay, so here's a theory. Karen's mom is the rich woman. And then this episode, the rich woman's like, cool, bye, I'm done on the show. Like, I'm
Yes!
leaving for a while. It's just like, oh, nope, not only are you not right, but you're way wrong.
I'm way wrong. And then they're like, here, they're just rubbing it in my face that I'm wrong because they're like, he goes to Karen's house. Yes, I know. Yes, that was funny. So the background of this episode is that The Rock is in
yes.
Philadelphia.
Yep.
Because he ate a protein-style cheesesteak, and
Right.
Philadelphia almost rioted. Like, he's, like, now, like, losing in the polls because he didn't eat a cheesesteak on bread. Which actually is, pretty true. We've seen this happen to candidates before. They eat something weird, use a fork and a knife on something they shouldn't have, and people freak out.
Like pizza, yes. Mm-hmm.
The thing that got me, and Garrett will be one to attest to this, is that at the end of this episode, he goes through the whole episode, tells a story, whatever, and he gets to the end and he's like, I'm going to eat a real cheesesteak now. And this guy in the crowd yells, "Go Eagles." And I was like, he would have yelled, "Go Birds." And I fucking know it, and he knows it, and The Rock knows it. And why they had to say Eagles to appease the masses and not stay true to their Philly selves made me angry.
Also, if Philly people say Eagles, it sounds more like Eagles than
Yes.
Eagles. Yeah, so
I was disappointed. And then The Rock reconfirms to him, he says, "Go Eagles." Like, I was like, you gotta give me one "Go Birds" in there, because, like, that's what they would have fucking said, so.
well, we all know how much you love the Eagles, so
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I don't, but, like, at least stay true. Like, if you're gonna sell me that you grew up in Bethlehem, PA, and you're gonna throw a "Go Eagles" in there, you gotta throw a "Go Birds" in there, because now you just look like you look like a hypocrite, like the same thing you did when you ate the protein-style cheesesteak in the show, so.
you look like a hoser, to take Canadian parlance.
Exactly.
Who knows? I don't know, man. Good point, though.
Don't like it.
We got 5 more episodes, probably.
5
Who
more?
knows?
Damn.
I'm guessing 13. We know, so they added
I'm going
another one on
10.
Wiki. So for sure, there are at least for sure 10.
Feels like 10 to me. We're getting close to the end here.
I mean, who knows?
I don't.
We have not said this yet, but like the high school and college The Rocks
Yes.
are going to be probably in every movie for the next decade because they're both really good and
Yes,
just like
yes.
they're so handsome, they're great actors, they're very charismatic. Like
Yeah.
it must be so hard to cast, and like the kid's good too, but the kid they basically be like, hey, like this little kid Rock, like we're just really not going to do much with him. Like he's just like we get it.
He gets no screen time, and he's like my favorite one of the three, to be honest with you. But you're right. The two kids that play the high school and the college age Rock are great actors. They're doing a good job. So
I can't imagine how difficult it is to cast. Like, hey, like, you know how like The Rock is like this perfect embodiment of like charisma and muscle and suave and all this different stuff. Like, okay, go find 3 people who are like that. It's like, wait, what? Hold on, what?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I agree.
But yeah, like they're probably going to be in everything. They're great. Like the show was so well cast and well acted, and just I'm a little tired of like the structure of it. Like here's once we get out of the framing device of like I'm in modern day and I made a mistake or whatever, and this is how I learned about it or whatever.
Yes.
Like once we're past that, if we just like go straight into the whatever, like I'm not trying to cut The Rock himself out of it, but like if we just went right into the episode and just like, oh, this is an episode about whatever.
Yep.
Different framing thing, right? So
that's exactly what it was this episode. The framing is getting tiring for me.
Yeah. And it's only like a minute at the top and a minute at the end, and maybe like 30 seconds in the middle. Like it's not a lot, but it's like
we could totally get the same thing without the bookends. I absolutely agree with you. Yep.
But then in that way, like The Rock is not in the show, right? So it's just like, well, he has to be there. So tonight, as this episode comes out, episode 9, and then next Tuesday, episode 10. So
cool.
Keep
watching.
Excited.
I'm gonna watch them. Yeah.
So the final thing to do before we take a break and bring in Heather is the Fast and the Furious Minute for Too Fast, Too Furious. Minute 6, a minute I called Remember Me When You Wax,
What's up, Ted?
What's happening, dude?
Thanks for the invite.
No problem at all, man. Just remember me when you wax, all right?
They got deep pockets?
Real deep.
What's up, Suki?
What's up, Bullet?
What do you say we kick it a nickel?
Espérate, Cano. Nobody said nothing about raising the stakes.
If that's the case, why don't you ask these nice people here to back off the line so you can go home?
A quote that I had never heard before.
I've never heard. Yeah, I saw that you posted the tweet, and I was like, that must be what he says. And then I saw the title, and I was like, yep.
Because every other line in this, I think, is, I don't want to call it iconic because like it's not, but like every other line I'm like, oh yeah, like what's happening, dude? Thanks for the invite. No problem at all, man. They got deep pockets, kicking a nickel, whatever.
Yeah.
But just remember me when you wax, right? It's like, okay. So in this minute, Brian pulls up to the starting line and greets Tej and his adoring fans. Brian says hi to Suki and proposes raising the stakes a nickel. Orange Julius gets cold feet, but starts to cave after Brian shames him. And the big takeaway here, I think, is Brian is adored by this crowd.
Yeah, they're hype. Everyone in the crowd knows who Brian is.
They love him.
Yeah, they're really excited.
Somebody's shouting out, I love you, Bullet.
That's right. There is like one girl in the background shouting this. That's right.
We've talked about it before, but we need these characters to understand what a nickel is, which they might, and also what 35 large means, because we don't think that they're racing for $35,000. It's probably 3,500. Kicked a nickel like 500, but like
I think he tries to kick it up $5,000, but we have no I don't know. They just use words. The money terms we've learned last movie are very, very vague.
I think it's all about just sounding cool, right?
It is. It's a lot of sound bites.
The only other thing that I noticed, because there's not a lot from me in this minute, I want to hear what you said, but like I want to hear what you found, but in the background here, there is a song called On and On and On by the Dungeon Family. Do you know this group, the Dungeon Family?
No, I do not, but I read what you put in the document, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just copied and pasted this from Wiki or from Google or whatever, but I was listening to this song, because it's not one of like the ludicrous, like, act a fool where it's like, where it's just like, this is like, where it's like the movie is like, okay, what you want to pay attention to right now is this song by Ludacris, and then like we're gonna like fade it out so you can watch the visuals, like, but like they hit you in the face hard with like act a fool. It's like, this is what you're listening to, and now we're gonna transition. Like, this is all just under sound effects under dialogue. And I'm listening, I'm like, this sounds like Outkast. Like, what the fuck? Like, this sounds like Big Boy. And I'm like, what is this? And I Shazam, and Shazam actually gets it. Shazam's not always great with these.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this, I guess, like, I don't know what the Dungeon Family is. And I Google, and Dungeon Family is an Atlanta-based hip-hop collective with members from Outkast, Organized Noise, Goody Mob, Parental Advisory, and a bunch of other bands. Like, and they had a compilation album, 2001, called Even in Darkness, which is right in the right era, and this song On and On and On, but like there's stuff on here like by Big Boy. Like it's the song.
Killer Mike,
and like
Bubba Sparks, like you have like a bunch of people really, really crazy.
It feels too big that I've never heard of that. We've never heard it. You know, it feels like, how do we not know that this like super, like in like white rock music, this is a super group, right? But this is just like a hip hop collective, right? But like, how is this many people Future? Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if they like, maybe they never had like a real hit. And if they would have had like one hit, we would have known about it. Even like, I love hip hop music and like, I didn't know about this, but like,
I mean, this is a hit enough to be in a multi-million-dollar Hollywood movie blockbuster. Yeah. I'm guessing this is also like just, you know, Ludacris coming from that scene and being like, oh, if you want something that like is affordable but cool, like that'll give you some street cred, here's this thing, right? So maybe that's it. But like, it's a cool song.
I don't think like the Southern rappers get a ton of respect. It comes in waves, right? It's like depends on like what the actual year is between like, you know, it seems like 1 or 2 summers in a row you'll get like a bunch of Harlem rappers, and then 1 or 2 summers in a row you'll get a bunch of like SoCal rapper. It's just how it works. So I don't know, but I totally missed this, and that's a really cool fact. I didn't know what the Dungeon Family was. So I
agree that like they don't get the respect they deserve. Like this is in the era where like Outkast is about to explode, or they're already exploding, and
Outkast
Ludacris
was already
is
huge.
Yeah, and Ludacris is huge, right? So like this is like, you know, the Southern hospitality. This is whole scene. So like if we don't know one from then, I don't know, man. It's just wild. But like now I got an album to find, or you know, to explore, right? So Even in Darkness,
cool it's a lot of names that we do know and we do like, so I'd be interested.
So what do you find this minute? Anything new of note?
There's not a lot here because we're just staring at Brian and Tej and Orange Julius pretty much the whole minute. I got a couple new stickers on Brian's skyline. I got some of the buildings in the background. One of the coolest things that I found was it finally at the end of the minute cuts back far enough that you get a street sign and you see that they're in Little Havana, but you can't see the title of the street that they're on, but you can see that. Those were the main cool things. I was like looking for Transmisiones store, and I only found one in Argentina. I was like looking for, you can't really even see signs in this, so it was hard.
So unless you have a better idea, like this is an easy trivia question, I think, but like it's also okay to have a gimme every once in a while. The only thing I could think of in this one is who suggests raising the stakes for the opening race? Brian, Orange Julius, Slapjack, Suki, or Tej as Brian.
I like that a lot because of how hard our quizzes get, and because where we will end up, a gimme one starts to play with your brain. And also, this could equally be Tej, right? Like, as much as we know that it's Brian, you know that they're talking, and you don't. And he says like, "Oh, they have deep pockets." I like it. It doesn't bother me at all. The only other thing that I could think of is like, how much does Brian want to raise the stakes? And it's a nickel. If you make it anything else, it's like, well, he could mean 500. He could mean 5,000. We don't know what a nickel means in their terms. He says nickel.
Who suggests raising the stakes for the opening race from minute 6? Remember me when you wax, aight? And the answer is Brian.
Yeah, works for me.
All right, let's take a break. Let's bring in Heather Antos to talk about the Fate of the Furious for the 8th time. Fate in lap 8. Ooh.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 175, The Fate of the Furious. This episode is brought to you by Amacool. With its 360-degree angled head and 3 speeds, their stroller fan's head can adjust to vertically and horizontally for any direction to create the perfect cooling breeze for your baby. Shout out to Amacool.
Well, shout out to Amacool, and welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever, as promised, as delivered. once again for the 8th time of, well, I guess 9th, including the intro interview.
True, yeah.
2 more episodes. We got the Hobbs and the Shaw, and then we got the exit interview where we find out her definitive rankings. Even a spoiler, Fury 7 probably number 1 because
Seems like it.
it ain't this movie. It ain't this movie. I can tell you that much. With us once again is Heather Antos. Hello, Heather.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Glad
me.
to have you as always.
Yeah.
Now, I had to receive some, I don't want to say mean texts from you, but you texted me, what did you make me watch? And I was like, shrug emoji.
That wasn't mean. That's I think exasperation is the word I describe.
I will say that was sent before the State of the Baby scene, in which case your
Yes.
mood 180'd and you were like,
Should
this is the movie I
change.
want to say.
Tyler, who I made sit through 8 with me, he and I have decided we now want to do an entire podcast series about Jason Statham.
Well, so Statham is a personal favorite of one of our main listeners and contributors, Wes Hampton. I think he's seen most, if not all, of Statham's movies. We have not done a Statham lap yet. We will do a Statham lap eventually. I think, again, we can't do a lap about a dude who's not Paul Walker before we do a lap about about Vin Diesel, right?
Yes.
We can't show disrespect to the Godfather like that.
I can.
Yes.
I know that you can, but you're also not running this show and not want to talk to Vin Diesel one day. We will do a Statham up, I think, at some point. There'll be ways to weave his movies into other things, but he's got a great catalog. And he's also got some real stinkers that we will be covering.
He absolutely does. Yeah, I feel like I've watched. I would have to go through IMDb to actually go through, but I've watched a lot of Statham films.
Let me actually look on Letterboxd right now. Letterboxd is not exactly perfect because they sometimes have short films and upcoming stuff, so it's not exactly spot on. But 54. He's in 54 movies, and I've seen 23 of them,
Okay,
That's a lot.
That's
Yeah,
a lot.
including his 13 most popular. The most popular one that I've not seen is The Transporter. I've not seen any of the Transporter movies.
You've not seen those? I think those are the first ones that I saw that I knew it was Jason Statham in.
If we want to do a Statham cast, the Crank movies and
Yep.
Spy are just
They're so
Snatch.
also The Fate of the Furious.
True. Very true.
fun. Whoa, what a segue.
So before we get into the conversation, Heather, we've got 2 either-or questions for you. Are you ready for these?
I am so ready.
Would you rather die in a fiery explosion or by drowning in icy water?
Oh, fiery explosion, hands down.
Okay. Reasoning?
Because drowning is terrible,
That makes sense.
and I hate
Okay.
being cold. I also hate being
cold.
hot, but I feel like that would go faster.
I don't know. I feel like we have this conversation every time, and they're both miserable. They're
They're
both
both
terrible.
miserable, but I think it depends. Well, I've decided I'm at the epicenter of the explosion.
Yep.
So I die nearly immediately.
I remember when I was little and playing a lot of video games, I remember telling my mom, Mom, I thought about it a lot. I'd rather die instantly in a bomb explosion than getting stabbed and bleeding to death. She's like, why are you thinking?
Why are you thinking about that? Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Just something that came into my head. She's like, well, don't think about that. I was probably 5 or 6.
Yeah, man. Video games. Shit happens.
Oh man, I'm looking through, sorry not to derail, but I'm looking through Statham's filmography right now, and his first 2 credits are as background dancers, and now I have to watch these.
Vin Diesel came from the world of music and dance
Breakdancing.
as well, right? Too.
Yeah.
So so they got things in common.
Yeah, but now I have to watch them. I have to.
I think I've seen a Jason Statham video of him dancing in something much like the Vin Diesel one.
Yeah.
And recently it just came back up in some kind of meme or something on social media. I saw it. So
Fascinating.
Yeah, I need to. I'm making a note to do some research after recording.
Okay, Google. Jason Statham dancing. Delight me with these, please. All right, Heather, the second question. No context. Answers however you want, although it is
Okay.
from the movie. Revenge of the Nerds or The Dark Knight?
The Dark Knight.
a lot of Dark Knight answers.
A lot of Dark Knight.
Well, that's
Overwhelmingly Dark Knight.
That's our generation, And I have more personal ties to that than Revenge of the Nerds.
True.
It's also purely subjective, like all these questions.
Oh,
but at
absolutely.
the end of this movie, when Roman is trying to hit on Ramsey unsuccessfully,
Yes.
and he says, "You want Revenge of the Nerds," meaning Tej, or the Dark Knight, meaning himself. So it's not necessarily that. We're not saying you would prefer Tyrese or Ludacris.
Just
not saying
however you
Roman or
perceive
Tej. Just whatever the question, right? Food all over the place.
Exactly.
Dark Knight or Revenge of the Nerds, right? So.
Yes.
All right, Heather. The Fate of the Furious. Have we made you furious? What do you think? Hit us with your initial
Coolest
thoughts.
moment. Oh.
Well, so it's
And then cool moment, yeah.
I had a very interesting experience watching this movie. There's I don't know if y'all know, but it's long and a lot happens.
Yes.
I had an adventure watching it. I had fun watching it, but I don't know if I necessarily enjoyed watching it.
Okay.
The more that the movie has sat with me and like in my head not been 2.5 hours, but is now just like shrunk down to like an hour and a half version in my head. I now love it, but I never want to watch it ever again.
Interesting.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's good,
I don't know how to say like how I feel. I love the version in my head.
Okay.
But because of that, I never want to watch it ever again because I feel like I'm just going to get upset.
Okay. That's better than we thought.
A little bit of context, a little bit of history here is that this is one of the, I would say widely considered one of the worst in the franchise.
I could see that.
That I think that one of the big sentiments when it came out was that it betrays what makes the Fast and Furious, that pitting Dom against the family feels like a betrayal of like what this franchise champions. Knowing what we know now about what's going to come in 9, and we will have you watch the first trailer before we do our exit interview in a couple weeks.
Okay.
I've come around in a big way on this movie, and I think Joe likes it. I don't know if he likes it as, however you want to say this, like as much more as I do since I first watched it, but like knowing that it is setting up the end game, I think, to a certain extent, and also having to do like the actual heavy lift and pivot of like, okay, so Paul just died. Whatever we said that we had planned for 8, we can't do anymore because like Brian's not in the picture anymore. So we have to completely shift this. In the last movie, we're kind of like vaguely hinting at like, oh, there's going to be other things or whatever. And like we had a guest come on and say that she thought that it was likely that the baby subplot was probably going to be Brian and Mia as opposed to Dom. And like other people have said maybe not, but like
I think that makes a lot of sense.
It does, right? And it feels like this movie is doing a lot. It is like resetting the franchise. It's setting up the future, and it's also introducing the Charlize Theron villain. And it's like also so there's a lot going on here. And I think knowing the little that we know about 9, and the fact that sort of spoiler, but Charlize will be back.
Yeah.
And like that was all I need to know. Like it's just like, oh, because if she leaves and just like pieces, I'm like, that's so unsatisfying.
Yeah.
This is a movie, to your point, that like on sort of deeper reflection bodes better. Initially, I think kind of leaves you the sour taste in your mouth, and it's just like, wait a minute, like actually, like it's kind of doing a lot, and like maybe it's not doing it as well as it could have, but like it's got a heavy lift, almost arguably a heavier lift than any other movie in the franchise so far.
No, I agree. Like what, and I think why I like it. One, Charlize is fascinating and just an amazing actress, you know. And she
watch the Throne, the Charlize Theron podcast, right here on the Cage Club Podcast Network.
You know, and like, I mean, the cast now has some really, really great charismatic players in it that are just fun to watch. And the story they're building with Cypher and weaving her history in with the family, there's a lot of depth there that I think the previous films lacked. And not that that was necessarily a bad thing, because the films are maturing as, you know, the franchise matures. Yeah, like there's just so much to like try and make sense of on top of like the bizarre stuff going on. It was a lot. It was a lot to consume.
Yeah, there's just more. There's just more good and more bad in this movie than in a lot of other movies. Because like
and I think I agree with you. And I hadn't thought about it that way. That like it's Dom going against the family and how that so goes against what, you know, these movies are about. You're absolutely 100% right. And I'm wondering if that's why, I mean, I'm pretty confident that's why, like, I was just kind of like, this feels weird to me.
What I've like come around and how I've like really sold myself on it, and now with like, you know, the release of the second trailer today, is if you see 8 and it was just like a one-off thing like you guys were saying, I would be kind of disappointed. But seeing it as the beginning of another arc, like an overarching arc,
like an 8, 9, 10 or whatever,
like an 8, 9, 10 situation, in that sense I'm like, oh, if it's just like the beginning of the like Charlize battle to get to the end game, then yeah, this could turn out to be way better. My ultimate hope was like, upon reflection later on, when we see, you know, 9 and 10, that you'll look back and you'll be like, oh, 8 was actually a lot better than we thought, but it just had to do all this legwork to set up where we were getting to.
Honestly, you know what I think would have just, and this subtle thing would have just made it so much better for me?
What?
That whole debacle happens where she shows up and shows him that phone, where obviously on the phone it's Elena
the baby. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But we don't know and we don't see. I think that if in the next scene when we saw them, or even then, like, he went without thinking twice, and it was not a hard decision for him. Like, even internally, it might have been a hard decision and tearing him up and everything. There was just a lot where, for me, I'm like, it's literally just, like, literally you killed hundreds of people probably for a baby that you've never met.
It's family, though.
We know that he would never betray the family, but this is family.
We
he
don't
didn't
know
that
it's
he
his.
had.
There's not a paternity test.
Are you calling Elena?
Just because the baby's bald and Vin is also bald does not mean it's his baby.
I think that we should respect Elena's name because she's not here anymore and she can't
Yes,
defend
because
herself.
this movie loves to kill off women.
Yeah, I know.
Although we don't really see a body. We see her slumped over, but his arm blocks her head, so she could be
Oh my
bad.
god, zombie Elena! She could come back with amnesia.
She could, yeah. And Dom looks up to the sky. Maybe she's just in a plane or something. Like at the. So when we were watching it this time, Rachel and I were like, Dom goes, "Let me introduce you to the most important woman in my life, who's not his mother."
No. The most important person in my life. It's very specifically person.
Even worse. Yeah.
Because because it's supposed to be like, is he introducing Letty to the baby or the baby to Letty? And that's the point of that scene.
Yes, I get it.
He's still saying that Letty is more important than anything else, but like the baby comes close.
Either way, Elena's not involved in that. Brian was not this baby's. He just renamed a baby. Brian was not this baby. Elena had a name for this baby, and we don't know what it was.
No, the movie, she says the father should give him the name.
Because the middle name was like Marcus or something.
We've watched this movie 9 times now.
Yeah, I got that.
No, sometimes I just forget stuff. I was so hung up at the end where he's like, and everybody's like waiting, like, what's the baby's name? And I was like, oh, yeah, but you're right. She does say, like,
No, the issue
I didn't
with
name
the
him
end
'cause, yeah.
is that they might as well name him Paul.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like that's the issue. That like
Yes.
they're like, hey, we lost an actual member of our family. We want him to live on. We're gonna name the baby Brian. But they're really like, hey, this baby's Paul Walker Toretto. Like that's what the baby's named,
Yes.
right?
I also love that Paul Walker dies, so now like Mia just doesn't exist in this franchise.
Yes!
Like
she is also coming back though, which is good.
Okay.
She is.
Yeah, I was like, wow, way to like screw this actress out of a recurring job. Like,
And all we get in this movie is them being like, we really need to call Brian, and Letty's like, no, leave them alone.
no, they have a baby.
Yeah.
So with all that said, before we get further into this, Heather, what's your cool moment? What is your pick for the cool
There's
moment
one answer.
in this movie?
Ryan, don't lose that cool of yours. That's your meal ticket.
Jason Statham fighting with a baby.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's 100% the answer. I knew that's the answer. This is unanimous. There's no other cooler moment than that.
No, I mean there's another one. There's one or two other ones.
There's some cool moments, but that's like the fucking
It's
coolest.
it's just so fucked up and charming.
I thought that was going to be a pick by someone. It had to be. So I was thinking of other ones, and I was thinking Dom winning the race and then tossing the car, like tossing his car keys to his cousin is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty like next. Like I won this. I don't even give a fuck about winning. Like it wasn't about that.
Yeah.
Also, just like standing up for your cousin and showing the island's bully who's boss.
Yes.
I don't know. I think also in that scene, getting out of a vehicle that is completely charged, smoking, and on fire, and your all-white outfit completely pristine is pretty cool too.
That is
Also
pretty
very cool.
Yeah.
Miracles.
My other one has to be Roman riding a Lamborghini door across ice being pulled by a tank. Like that just thinking that like in words.
That just stressed me out.
It's very cool though.
Joe, I've got some news.
What? Tell me.
I like Roman in this movie now.
No! Have you come around?
I don't
my
know what
favorite.
happened. So Heather, this is
Thank you. Heather gets it.
for 8
Yeah.
laps now, for this entire run of this show, basically, almost from the beginning.
You haven't liked him?
I've been like, this is a point where, like, if you watch Roman in Too Fast and you watch Roman in this, it's like, okay, he was a character and now he's a caricature. I keep saying that.
Oh
every single
yeah,
time.
no, he is. They
They amped him up.
They did, for sure. They amped him up and he might have amped it up too.
Yeah.
However, there's something about it, and again, maybe it was the fact that I wasn't, that I was so low on him as setting the bar so low, like the expectations or whatever. God damn it, if he didn't make me laugh a couple times this movie, like, and I know the
Right?
jokes, I know the lines, like I don't have this movie memorized, but like I have more of this movie memorized than anybody ever should, and I like Roman in this movie now, and I don't. Maybe it's gonna change in 9, but
Roman is so much like the audience at times, like just the like and that's why he's the one who's like, this is fucking crazy. Absolutely not. I'm not driving out of a building. Are you insane? And I'm like, I am with you. Yes, that is the right frame of mind.
I never put it in that perspective, but I think you're right. Like, he does give, like, the audience a voice. Like, he kind of plays the voice of reason. Like, not that he's actually the voice of reason, but he, like informs you, like, this is crazy.
He grounds everything.
Yes.
And that, like, this is insane.
I also think Tyrese himself is so charismatic, Joey, that's probably what you're picking up. I like Tyrese, right?
Right.
Like, as goofy and, like, he seems like he's, like, playing himself more than he's playing. Like, he's playing into Roman, he's playing up to Roman, sure, but, like, some of his goofiness is probably just what he sounds like when he's talking about anything, so.
There's a very obvious cool moment that you guys have not mentioned yet.
What was it?
It is Coach The Rock teaching his soccer team how to do the haka on the soccer pitch to scare the ever-loving shit out of these, like, 12-year-old girls.
I think the other team's reaction was the appropriate reaction.
I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
And then again, like, when he does the haka at the end, like, it doesn't make any sense, but, like, that's also still cool. I still think that, like, maybe one of the best action sequences in this entire franchise is that prison break.
Oh,
like, it's so, like, this, it's scored well with that, whatever that song is, and Stay Them and The Rock are the two, like, with all deference and all respect to Vin Diesel, like, they are physical action stars in a way that he is not.
Yes.
And they are able to do things in that scene and then ultimately in Hobbs and Shaw that he is not. And they're like, oh, we have this whole, like, it kind of is an extension of what Heather's been, lauding the last couple of movies for. It's like that you have actual fighters doing fighting, and it's like, oh, you have physical hand-to-hand combat in a way that's not just like Hulk and Hulk throwing people through walls. It's like, oh, they are amazingly physical, gifted, adept people doing cool things. And, like, it's cool as hell.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that was my cool moment before Jason Statham and a baby. As I've said before, like, as a stunt worker and fight choreographer, like, watching that, like, that's a scene that I am 100% going to go back and watch and see how they did and shot and everything. And it's fun and cool and badass and really sets the status quo of, like, who these characters are. But yeah, no, and as you're saying, like, all due respect to Vin, but it's the difference. This is a perfect representation of the difference of people who have muscle just because they lift, do you lift, bro? And people who have muscle because they, like, have active muscle. There's nothing wrong with either, but this is a good representation again of the difference.
Yeah. It's cool in a way that the movies weren't able to be cool even like 2 movies ago, right? Like before Statham shows up. It's like, because I think that The Rock, so there's an interesting thing that I think The Rock, the character of Luke Hobbs in here is kind of playing, and also to a certain extent, like what The Rock is able to do, that he comes in and he pumps up the franchise and, franchise Viagra, all that sort of stuff, right? But, like, he's kind of playing their game, right? Like, he's fitting into their formula. And here, they're like, oh, we can kind of build around him and do an entire plot with him and stay them and, like, see if that works. And if it does, we'll spin it off or whatever. What's interesting, what I don't think I ever really picked up on before in this movie is that when little nobody is basically like, fuck it, you guys can do whatever you want to do, like, we're, there's no rules anymore, like, do whatever you're going to do. Mr. Nobody, Kurt Russell, our everybody's favorite, turns to Hobbs and says, see, Luke, I knew he would get it, or something like that. And I'm like, it feels in a way that, like, Hobbs is both a member of the team and also a team leader in a way that, like, Dom never was. Like, Dom was he was just, like, understood to be team leader, but he was just part of the team. And here, it's like, oh, we're side by side with our boss in a way.
Dom is big brother, Hobbs is daddy.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a weird kind of power dynamic. Like, he has, like, they work for him. They have worked for him, and now he's on the team. But it's like, it's in a way that Mr. Nobody says Luke. He calls him Luke. Like, nobody calls him Luke. Like, it's this sort of show of respect in a way. It's like, interesting. And I don't know if that's The Rock as, like, embodying the character, or just the Hobbs character himself independent of the actor. But it's like, oh, there's something different going on here that I never really thought about before.
Yeah, no, I that's a really good note. I never viewed Dom as, like, the leader, even though he is obviously in a way, but, like, for me, his role has always been big brother. He's the one you look up to. He's not necessarily the one you follow, but Hobbs is someone you follow.
He has more, like, boss energy.
Yeah.
Dom is the leader because he was the oldest, because he's the patriarch, but not necessarily because he's the boss. I could follow along with those thoughts.
It's in a way like Hobbs will never really fit in.
Yeah, he's never going to be a full member of the team where he always brings a weird energy because he is the boss, right? Like, that's the whole point. Like,
yeah. You don't go out to drinks after work with your boss. Like, that just doesn't happen.
Like, they're, like, hanging out. You'll have, like, a barbecue that's just, like, them sitting around the table, and, like, when Dom's there, they're like, oh, he's a normal guy. Look, it's just Dom. But, like, when Hobbs shows up, everybody's, like, sits at attention, right? They're just, like, all, like, tense. I
just never really thought about that. There's another element, and I want to hear all about Heather's thoughts on this one, but there's one other thing that I did not pick up on in previous watching, but at one point, so, like, early in this movie, Letty says to Mr. Nobody, do you know why? Like, I can't fathom why Dom is doing this. This doesn't make any sense to me. Dom would never turn against us. Do you know why? And Mr. Nobody says, gee, Letty, no, I don't. And it's like, you do. Like, you do. You know what it is. Mm-hmm. Nobody asks a follow-up question. Nobody asks, like, wait, what is that? Like, why are you being an asshole? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's the weirdest reaction to that question. Gee, Letty, no, I don't. But, like, he says it in a way like, yeah, I do. Just ask me the question. But, like, nobody follows up on it. Like, oh, Elena's there. I get it. Why? What? What is happening? What?
I don't know. Maybe it's that sarcastic asshole response that everyone's just like, I don't want to deal with this right now.
It's so
it's super weird. Yeah, it's literally just, well, no, because then if they ask the question, then it wouldn't be a reveal to them later.
Right, because the whole movie hinges on the family not understanding and being worried of Dom.
Yep.
Right?
They think that he's betraying them for some reason, not that If you tell this is the 10-second movie thing. Like, if you would be like, well, like, you know, Elena's there, and they'd be like, oh, well, he's probably trying to save Elena. That's cool.
You can't just let him do his thing because you're still trying to save the world. But, like, if you think as a character, as a person, you know, in this world, that your friend, you know, this dear person in your heart, could kill you for an unknown reason, you're going to act differently than like, oh, he's just, you know, he's playing a part because Elena's there and the baby's there or whatever. Like,
I don't know how they don't see that, by the way. Like, that's like if you were like all of a sudden tried to kill me, I would be like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with Joey? Like, something weird is happening here that I'm not seeing. Not like Joey turned on me. You know what I mean? You'd be like, like, I would just instantly know, like, we've been together for so long. Like, if you just like totally stop talking to me or like doing something weird.
Something weird is something nefarious is going on.
Yeah.
We just don't know about. For me to be like, oh, he turned and completely betrayed us would be like, I would have to know that he was talking to someone or something. You know what I mean? Like, I would have to know that there was an actual choice to be made to double cross.
Yes.
Again, all we know of Dom is this just isn't his character whatsoever
at
all.
all.
So for anyone to, like, the only person that, again, would make sense to suggest that is Ramsey, because she's new. Even
like Roman kind of seems like he's always out for himself a little bit. So like the self-preservation thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Dom isn't a self-preserve. I mean, he does self-preserve, obviously. We see he's a survivor, but like he's gonna give the shirt off his back for his best friend. Like, he's not, if shit goes down, he will literally kill himself to save you.
Which makes the point of what we were saying earlier so much better. Like, I could actually see Brian playing this.
Yeah.
And it would be way more believable than Dom playing.
100%, because we've already seen that that's in his, like, has a history of this, more or less.
And they even play that card in this movie when Ramsey's like, oh, I don't know, and Letty's like, no. Like, remember the last movie? He, like, you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for him, so, like, shut your mouth, right? So, like, it's a weird, like, they're even reminding, like, no, like, Dom's a good guy. It's just like, wait, what?
Again, this would make so much more sense for it to be Brian, for that to be Mia. I guess they would then name the baby Dom at the end.
Well, Vince already named his baby after Dom.
Dominic,
so.
yeah, little Nico, yeah.
Can you imagine if we had just had like a whole troop of Doms running around? Like,
God, so many bald babies!
Yeah.
I've monopolized enough time on your lap, Heather. What do you want to think? What do you want to talk about this movie? Favorite parts, least favorite parts? What do you love? What do you hate? What are you confused about? Questions you have? Hit us with it. Your thoughts about Fate of the Furious.
I love Helen Mirren showing up in this.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, what a fucking random get. And then I looked it up.
Do you know the story of this?
I did. I looked it up.
Okay.
Because at first I was just like,
why the fuck is Helen Mirren in this?
Right. Like, she, like she's Helen Mirren, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what is she doing in this popcorn summer blockbuster action movie?
Yep.
Just as this, like, weird cameo. And then I saw that, yeah, she, like, I was like, who does she owe, right? Like, whose brother did she murder? That they're like, you have to be in this movie now. Sorry. Yeah, no, the fact that she was such a huge fan of Seven, which I 100% can understand.
There you go.
And then they have her do that god-awful, like, rough, rugged northern British accent when normally she's so posh to be Shaw's mom. Like, I love it so much. Again, I want just her and Jason Statham. I want that movie.
Well,
so good. Like, Charlize Theron, because she too was one for me that I was kind of like, really? Like, you don't need your Charlize Theron. You don't need this franchise, right?
No.
Especially because I think she would have just come off of Fury Road.
It was a little bit later. This is 2 years after Fury Road, so she had done stuff in between, I think. Let me actually look that up.
That's your action movie. That's your big action movie you want to be in, you know? But maybe it was she got to play a villain in this or something. I don't know.
So she goes from, just for context, because we did do the entire podcast on her, she goes from Fury Road to Huntsman 2, Winter's War.
That's right. She was in that. Yep.
I think she has a very small part in that, because she's the villain in the first one. She's got a small part in that. Then she's in The Last Face, which is maybe her worst movie. It's like a vanity project that Sean Penn made. Terrible. Then she voices in Cuba, and then this same year that Fate of the Furious comes out, she also does Atomic Blonde. So like she's just an action movie. Yeah.
She
was never not really action. Like she basically wins her Oscar and just like I'm gonna do cool crazy shit now, right? Like and, you know, she was in Hancock and whatever and like Prometheus, and it's kind of the transition. But yeah, this is kind of like, oh, like let me do a franchise thing, because like I haven't really done franchises really except for Snow White, but even that's still
that doesn't really I mean that's true, that's 100% true. And not that Vin and Dwayne Johnson aren't A-list stars, they are, but Charlize is an A-list star of another neighborhood, right? To me, I'm like, oh, you upped the class of this movie with her in it, and then Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
Also, okay, here, I have a question. I was trying to look this up to see if there was any significance to this. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's just a pure coincidence. Why does Charlize Theron have literally the exact same hair as Angelina Jolie from Gone with 60 Seconds?
We don't
probably
know.
For that, I don't know.
We don't know. Probably an homage to that, though, yes.
One of the funniest things that Joe has done, I think, is that when I was making our Facebook banner, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, I made a Brady Bunch style of just random characters in the Fast and Furious, and in the middle is Anna B. Davis as Alice. And it's just all the different people or whatever. And this was before, Charlize was
8
here.
wasn't out.
No, it was, because, Fate existed before, because we started this at the end of 2017, and this was...
Okay.
But you're like, just put Sway on there. Just put nobody's going to notice. And so, like, in there is Sway, because, like, it looks like she kind of looks like she belongs in this universe, because, like, Charlize, it looks the same. So just, like, you just put her on there. Like, nobody cares. And nope, not a single person
No one noticed.
has commented.
Noticed. Yeah, nobody's noticed until this point.
And like on Facebook, like we're not a huge podcast. We're not a huge podcast. Like we bought a lot of followers on Facebook. Like we just, lots of people who just like clicking the like button, but ostensibly had thousands of people see this picture, and not one has been like, hey,
why the fuck is Gone in 60 Seconds?
She's not in this. That's so funny.
So
so funny. Yeah, no. When I first saw her, I was like, I know what. Like, I know this awful hairstyle.
Yeah, bad hairstyle.
It's bad.
Very
and
bad.
Well, like, also, I just feel so bad because it's heavy.
Wait, hold on. Have you seen her hair in 9?
No. I haven't seen anything.
Actually, hold on. Let me...
no, send me what I'm allowed to see.
Yeah. It also kind of got memed.
She looks like the lady from The Incredibles.
It's not better. It's just differently weird.
Okay.
I mean, she does. She looks good. I mean, she
always looks good.
She's hot. Like, it's,
It's a choice. It's another choice.
Yeah. Hold on.
Are like evil villains supposed to have bad hair? Is that what they're trying to sell us on?
Oh wow, she looks like Heidi Klum in that profile.
Oh, kind of. I remember when Heidi Klum had this haircut too. You're right. Yeah.
Like the meme that went around was that she looks like Karen. Like, on the Twitter, Karen's like, she looks like a Karen. Like, let me get your manager.
Though, I kind of dig it versus the other one because it's like edgy and sleek, and no, I can vibe with that one. Like, that's more of an evil villain That's a villain haircut. The
Evil
other one,
villain that's super smart and is a spy and is a hacker.
Yeah. The one in Fate of the Furious is just like, I haven't showered in 20 years.
Yeah.
By choice.
Right. Wow, interesting. That's there's a difference there.
It's a look.
It is very different.
Iconic.
It is, yes. Maybe they finally realized it looked like Gone in 60 Seconds. Who knows?
I think that they did it on purpose. There's like a lot of these things that we see, like how many Point Break references do we get in 6, right?
That's fair.
In the next movie, in the final movie you'll be watching in this lap, there is a huge allusion to a predecessor, right? Or like a simultaneous, not a really predecessor, but like another thing. So we'll get to that. But like, yeah, they make allusions, they make references to stuff. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now, what else? I loved the winky face on the pendulum. I thought that tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, yes.
On the wrecking ball. I thought.
And the escape from the German facility, yeah.
Yeah, but again, we're just casually killing hundreds of people.
Have you seem like, okay, with the laughing, you seem like you've really gotten a lot better with it, though. I think we've grown here.
I'm at the itch because it's just so
so much.
It's
just a lot.
so much that it's just gratuitous. Like,
yep.
But it makes them all psychopaths.
Yeah.
Like, every single one of them is a psychopath because, I planned for this, knowing that it is going to literally murder hundreds of people. But it's okay because we'll be alive.
And we're going to save the baby. That one baby that we, like you said, we don't
They don't know they're saving a baby at that point.
That's true. Also true, yes. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because this is a question that I think about now I've figured it out because we watched the movie so many times. But, like, what is Charlize's motivation in this movie?
Accountability. I say this every time. It's accountability.
I
mean, that's also not a good answer, but it's accountability.
Yeah, her motivation is to be a bad guy because everyone else is a bad guy, and so she's going to be the baddest of the bad guys because she's oh so smart. But she does it in the vein of, I'm really a good person because I want to make the bad people know that they can be put in their place too, right? It's
okay.
I think, again, she's just a psychopath and megalomaniac and wants to prove that she's super smart and can get away with anything.
Well, what this movie is also doing, which I'm assuming you probably, because it's not like hidden, but it's also like it requires like remembering other movies, which I know that, some of these are not been your favorite movies.
Oh, it's weaving all the stories and making it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and I appreciated that. I thought that was done, because they could have been over the top with that, and I thought that was handled well.
Because Braga worked for Owen Shaw, and Owen
Yes.
Shaw worked for Cypher, and
Yep.
so like it's this umbrella of villainy in the Fastiverse that like she is ostensibly the leader of, or maybe second in command to, or something, right? But she's like
She's well
she's kind of
connected.
she's maybe the Blowfield of Spectre, to use
Yeah.
a Bond reference. And Jesus Christ, I need these Bond movies get better because Thunderball is not great, and then You Only Live Twice was oh boy.
Oh,
So I
man.
can't wait to get out the Connery era because Jesus, I am not enjoying
That's
these. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Okay. No, and I think it's she wants to be a big bad, and you're getting in the way of me being a big bad, so I'm going to take you off the table so I can be a big bad. It's ego, man. That's just all it is. Oh, this was one of the more laughably just don't think about it too much moments in the
Okay.
film. Vin Diesel doing a casual 200 miles per hour onto a plane and then stopping immediately in his car.
Yeah.
just like he's just casually driving 200 miles an hour and then stops the second he's on the plane.
It happens. You know how it works.
Physics, man.
Well, actually, speaking of Dom and cars, this is the first time, I guess I just never looked at the screen at this point. Dom installed a button in his car that he could step on to sputter out the engine. Like, is that a thing?
Did he?
When,
What?
in New York,
Okay.
so when
Yes.
he, like, pulls into that alley,
Uh-huh.
and he, like, he hides behind the truck or the van or whatever and goes inside and meets Helen
Get his
Mirren.
window, yeah.
They show an insert shot, and I rewound it because I didn't remember ever seeing this. And again, this is the 10th time I've seen this movie. He, next to the left of the gas and the
clutch?
brake and apparently the clutch, there is a pedal with a red button on it that he steps on, and engine goes, "Puh-puh-puh-puh-puh-puh-puh." And she's like, Don, what's going on? He's like, I don't know, something, fuel, blah, 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 whatever, car stuff.
Yeah.
And so he pulls it, but like, he installed a button into the car.
So it's like a mechanical thing less than an electric thing, so she can't track it.
I
That's
guess,
what it
but like,
sounds like.
nobody on her team saw inside his car?
Or when he installed it, because he's been on the plane. So, like, what was he do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Oh, and you said New York, though, and that just made me think of all the cars driving off of things, which I had forgotten, and now I'm sad again.
Why?
All the cars driving off of roofs and just piling and killing people? Again, all this casual murder. It's just...
Okay.
It's a bit like this was biblical levels of casual murder.
So here comes my question. Who is worse? The Avengers or the Fast and the Furious family? For casual murders.
I'm going to go with Fast and the Furious because Fast and the Furious, our heroes, are definitely doing way more casual murder than the heroes in Avengers. Like, at least the heroes in Avengers are like, fuck, we gotta save these people. And Fast and Furious are just like, fuck, we gotta save ourselves.
Whoa.
There's a lot of self-preservation in the Fast and Furious.
There's a lot.
I do think, comparing to Marvel again for a second, like, I think that Marvel is a blessing and a curse to every other franchise, because, like, even to itself, because it's like, okay, we need to tell a story, but reference what came before and set up what comes next. And I'm like, I don't know, like, if the MCU is not as successful as it is, I don't know that this has anywhere near the story structure that it has, because I feel
that's
like
very true.
I think that's true. I think that's fair.
Before, it's like it has to not only tell a story here, but also be like, hey, we got Elena back from a couple movies ago, and now we also got Charlize to be like, I guess, ostensibly the main villain in the future. And so it's why no movie ever kind of feels like a movie anymore. It's just like, oh, this is just a 2.5 hour installment in this 20 hour whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Well, and the MCU, I mean, we see that they almost brag about it now, and the products that they put out, right? Like, they don't make an effort to fill you in really on the things you need to know to understand. Because that's my problem, just not to get off of Fast and Furious for a second, but like that's my problem with or with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier that's on right now. Spoilers if you're
Joe has seen none, and I've only seen 2, so be
I know, I will, but like, you've seen Endgame though, I assume.
Yeah.
So like the whole backstory motivating this story is Cap isn't here anymore, and this is the world post Steve Rogers. Except if you have no context of who Steve Rogers is, or what he means to these people, or what he means to the world, or just like really have experienced his impact, the show doesn't, like, you need to know
pick
that.
This up.
Yeah, like otherwise it's just like the action scenes are cool, and like, you're missing a huge chunk of like what is actually emotionally impacting and driving these characters. Sam is dealing with the loss of Steve. Bucky's dealing with everyone is dealing with the loss of Steve, but you never actually get to experience Steve to know what that loss actually is. Obviously, there's been 10 years of Steve that we've experienced as viewers, and the MCU gets to take advantage of that. But then if this is I'm interested in this character, I'm going to check it out and watch it, like, I don't think it's emotionally going to impact them as much as it would.
Right.
And there's easy ways around that, but they don't have to do it, and they know they don't have to do it.
And like, that's something that we've talked about with this franchise, getting it back here again, great segue, is that we said like every one of these movies is somebody's first Fast and Furious movie, but like if Falcon and the Winter Soldier is your first MCU thing, it's like,
is that going to motivate you to go back?
People that they're adding to F9 that are going to bring in a new crowd, that it's going to be, that's their first Fast and Furious movie, but like there's so much mythology that exists over the span of 20 plus years, 9 movies and video games and animated series and this and that and the other thing and short films, right? Like there's so much story that like you don't need to know, like you don't need to be us, like you don't have to be like insane about it.
Yeah.
But like if you don't have a sense of like what Tokyo Drift was or whatever, right? Like,
which is so important now. Yeah.
It's not going to hit in the same way, and it's going to be unsatisfying maybe.
The other side of this, I think Fast and Furious does a much better job of being your entry point along the way than Marvel ever does. Like, you can watch a Fast and Furious movie, and yes, it doesn't hit the same, but like they'll lead you through what you need to know, and because it's so hammering home that like
you don't need to know that they started by stealing DVD players.
Exactly. You could pick up at 5, like you pick up at 5, right? You weren't like lost. Like obviously it's better if you like watched up until then, but whereas you're right, Marvel's gotten to a point where like you need to have seen everything or you're just kind of lost for the most part.
Right.
No, I will say, like, Fast and the Furious, I definitely do appreciate, like, I definitely appreciate where all these characters have come from and, like, can take that with me into this. But, like, I could also 100% have watched this and been able to follow the story about as well as I could have followed it as I followed it. At the end of the day, it's every single one of these is a pretty straightforward action movie / heist situation that if you've seen one, then you can take what you know of that and pass it along. And, you know, you have your tropes and the characters. And I don't think Fast and Furious would have to be around and making new movies for a long time for it to ever get to MCU level, I think, just because, like, MCU, you have all the different mythologies. Yep. With Fast and Furious, they would have to get to a point where they start introducing more recurring other families, right? And, like, we're just following this family. We're not following Doctor Strange and the Hulk and Black Widow and Guardians and... Yeah. Right.
Because that is a good point. Because also, it's keeping in mind, like, there is, like, the Kevin Feige over in Marvel, but, like, it's not like he's writing every movie or kind of storyboarding every movie. This is, to a certain extent, just coming from the brains of, like, Chris Morgan and Vin Diesel and Justin Lin. And, like, that's it. Like, it's the three of them kind of, like, deciding what happens. Yeah. Again, to your point of just having one family, it's like, these are the characters, and, like, there's a shit ton of them now. Like, there's, like, 12 of them or whatever. But, like, it's not like you have to keep in mind 6 different mini sub-franchises and 3 different phases and, like, oh, here's another phase and here's 3 other more little
and
whatever,
TV
right?
shows no, you get one movie every couple years.
Oh, and like there's a Scarlet Witch over here. Oh, that's not actually Scarlet Witch. That's actually owned by Fox, and we can't really call them mutants because we don't own that right. So like, sorry, and like, oh, but there's another Spider-Man, but that's not our Spider-Man. Like, yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, this is it, right? It's all the same thing.
And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but every movie more or less is pretty similar. And again, like, obviously there's a different story and different things happen, but like, you have characters, bad guy does something, we have adventure and break the laws of physics constantly, someone dies, unfortunately,
and we save the world, and
then rinse, wash, repeat, right? Like, and that's fine and great, and obviously that works because we see it in every movie, every franchise, constantly, all the time. So
what else about this movie, Heather? Is there anything else of note in Fate of the Furious? Because I was saying to you via text, you texted me, you're like, should I watch the trailer for 9? I was like, don't, because I'm not. But,
well, I just wasn't sure if you guys were going to talk about it today.
Right, because... yeah, we talked about the intro, like, kind of, but even not really, because I'm not watching it. But, like, Hobbs and Shaw it exists on a different track. So, like, in terms of, like, you don't have to see Hobbs and Shaw to go understand everything about 9. Like, I don't think, unless there's stuff that, like, will surprise both of us, I think, Joe. Like, it's fair to say that, like, you don't, I mean, Hobbs and Shaw, we will, because, like, you're contractually obligated, but, like...
Well, also, if Jason Statham, hello.
Yeah, it's a full Jason Statham in The Rock movie.
Like, absolutely, sign me up. I would have done that for 10 episodes in a row.
Right, but, like, you're caught up effectively on the main franchise,
right.
Like, not in the Fastiverse. And this is kind of, it's to a certain point what we were just talking about the MCU, like, they're kind of building a second family in the Hobbs and Shaw verse, right? So I don't know. But also took 20 years. Like, it wasn't like, hey, we have this idea to have like 6 different things become one. It's like 18 years and we're like, we might do a second one. Like, what do you guys think we should fuck around with a second one? Maybe.
Oh, I thought of one more thing that I loved. I loved that they brought in the 2 Spanish-speaking brothers.
Rico and Tego,
Yeah, Rico and Tego. I loved that cameo in this so much because I loved them. I thought they were fantastic.
They're great characters.
They're so great.
Hold on. What are we supposed to call them? It's not Rico and Tego. It's Tego and Don Omar. Is that it?
Rico and Santos. Well, they have 3 different... We told you this, right, Heather? That they have 3 different names. They're credited as 3 different names in these movies.
No, I loved that cameo. I died because I think they are just comic gold in every single performance that they have in this franchise.
They are such a good, like, pressure valve, right? Like, as soon as they show up and they're just, like, arguing, like, bickering.
It's so good. Yes. It's an old comedic trope, but it works so well, and they nail it. Yeah, no, that was fun.
It's also cool that they bring back the Cuban guy from the beginning.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, no, that was nice too.
I even like the very like Ocean's 11-y like wink with like they show you his flashback to be like it was this guy, guys. Like if you didn't recognize his face, it's the same guy from the beginning. Like because they like have the flag.
Fedora on.
Yeah. Like, he might not have a fedora, but, like, he has the Cuban flag. Here it is. It's definitely him. I was like, thank you. That's reassuring for somebody like me and you, who has face blindness sometimes, so hair blindness.
That was great. And then I just loved the old school show The Rock being an old wrestling baller holding little nobody horizontally on the wall. Because he actually did that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
He 100% was just like, yes, I'm just going to pick you up and hold you horizontally because I can.
I also want to correct us. It's Leo and Santos.
Leo and Santos, you're right. Yes.
Tego Calderon plays Leo. Don Omar plays Santos.
Tomato.
Well, I mean, there's like 6 different tomatoes, and they're all named different things.
Yes, tomato. I regret saying this, but like, I know you said the normal version and the extended version, there are huge differences because of how much more is in the extended, but like, this makes me want to watch the theatrical version because I'm just so curious what was added in the extended.
I think just more like longer scenes. I'm at this point, it's a blur and I can't tell you, but I know that like the fight scene in the jail is longer, right, Joey?
There's a couple extended action scenes because we did Last Lap 2 laps ago. Jesus Christ, I can't remember. Oh boy.
Yeah.
What was Last Lap? No, Last Lap was the missing pieces lap, so we watched all the deleted scenes. This just had like 3 deleted scenes, but they were all extended ones that they just weaved into the extended cut actually. But like, I think it's more like there's more character development. There's more between Hobbs and Shaw specifically. Mm-hmm. There's more jokes. There's more character bonding. There's like longer takes. Like, it's a lot more character-y, I think. Like, it's more fun. Like, it's not necessarily integral to the plot, but it's an extra 13 or 15 minutes of like actual like character development that I feel like by this point you might as well. And I think it's significant, if only compared to other movies where the extended ones are not as significant.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because even the theatrical release of this is like over 2 hours. It's
not.
not.
It has to be. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's 2:15. So you're getting 15 more minutes on top of 2:15. So.
And also, I do want to point out that tentatively scheduled F9 for 3 hours and 8 minutes. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But
Jesus Christ, I hope there's an intermission. I'm gonna need like a pause in the middle to regroup.
Yeah.
Anything else, Heather?
Give me more Jason Statham with a baby.
I hope that baby comes back, but like, it's still a baby. Like, we're years later, but he's still just like a cute ass baby.
Well, we know that's yeah.
I know. Like, I know what I know, but I'm also saying I want that baby back as that baby.
Let's recast the baby like as someone else. The baby just keeps coming back as that. That is a really cute baby. It has huge eyes and it's very adorable. I agree. But
all
like,
babies look like potatoes.
They do. This one had like a very expressionable face, and I thought that was very interesting and cute. But yeah, I wish that baby we could have just kept it that size and just keep recasting it in movies.
They'll do the Stan Lee effect where they film all its scenes and cameos.
Yeah,
just like now.
Yeah.
Just
always the same age.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love it. Everybody else keeps getting older. Sean
but they
gets
do,
older
but they do it with
older.
Lucas Black.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Lucas Black keeps getting older and the baby's the same age.
It's literally the Wooderson thing. You know what I like about this baby? We keep getting older and it stays the same age.
Oh, this just got
It's
real
like, what are you
creepy.
talking about? It's a baby.
This just got really creepy.
Hey man, don't blame me. Blame Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
All right, you guys want to play a couple games?
Yes.
Wait, I just want to say, I feel like we've had a delightful tonal shift this episode.
I was not expecting this.
I think that it took a long time, but I think Heather's finally in.
Oh no, it took Jason Statham, remember.
That's
Jason
fine.
Statham.
We at some point, you just totally proved our whole thesis for this, which is that at some point, there is going to be a Fast and the Furious for someone. For everyone. You're going to hit a point where you're like, you know what, that one wasn't bad.
I
like,
think
at least.
I think it's Stockholm Syndrome now, guys. Like, I just...
You might not be
I'll
wrong.
take that too. Yeah,
I think you might have just broken me.
All right. First up, this ain't no 10-second race, a.k.a. Boy Do We Have a Podcast For You. This is where we go on Twitter.com, a.k.a. The Bird App.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
Find anybody we don't know who has tweeted about something that might be interesting of note to the podcast, and we like it, retweet it, and reply to them by saying, boy, do we have a podcast for you. Customize it if we want, and we get points based on if they reply or retweet or like it or email us or whatever. So far, Heather has 0 points. I think collectively, me and Joe might have like 3 points. This has been a brutal app.
This
has been a
I
very
was always
difficult app.
fucking
a
wrecked.
great golf player, so
You're even better than acing every hole. You have just not even swung the club. You're just...
that's
great.
how good I am.
Liam O'Donnell. I found Liam O'Donnell at Liam O'Din. Rewatched Furious 7 with my son. Ending is still a small miracle. Perfect send-off, but I'm wrecked. Crying emoji. Boy, do we have a podcast for you and your son, maybe, depending on his age, but family is family. I gotta like. Liam liked the tweet. I get the point. Ding.
Ooh.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
Well, 1 ding, because you get 1 point, not 3. But yes.
Joe, you found Morgan Hendricks at Loud, Tall, Blonde. My phone died, but if anyone's still following, I sobbed like an absolute baby at the end of Furious 7. I also screamed at the triple building jump, and The Rock ripping his cast by flexing. I don't know why Kurt Russell showed up, but of course he did. This series is everything. And we said we totally agree, and boy do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. Heather, you found Stop Crying, It's Just a Movie, the movie, and then 3 pictures of Will Smith cradling his dog in I Am Legend. And we said, no matter where you are, whether it's a quarter mile away or halfway around the world, you'll always be with me and you'll always be my brother. Then 3 pictures of Brian and his kid, Brian and Dom, and Brian looking at Dom. Beautiful. Nothing.
Yeah, because I broke everyone. They were too sad.
They couldn't see the like button through the tears.
No.
Exactly. Somebody cutting onions in here?
But again, getting a point collectively feels like a win because Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
This time, we all have our tweets. We were all such good students.
We were. We were really
They're
good
all
students,
in.
actually.
Yes.
So, Heather, what you missed before you joined was that Joe's like, oh, this is probably not going to be your tweet. This is from April 6th. And I was like, wait a minute. My tweet is also from April 6th.
Did you
I'm
guys
like, might
get
have
the
had
same tweets?
different tweets, though. 8 days
Okay.
ago, but different tweets from 8 days ago.
But
So
same
I found,
day. Same. It's fucking weird, right? Like, that's...
Yeah.
That's really weird.
I found Bennett Campbell Ferguson at Though Bennett on Twitter. I finished watching the Fast and Furious films. Here's my ranking. P.S. I decided that Han and Giselle are my favorite characters. So from the bottom up, number 9, Fate of the Furious. So what I searched to find this tweet, Fate of the Furious in 9th place. In 8th place,
Okay.
Hobbs and Shaw. Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Furious 6, Tokyo Drift, the original Furious 7 in the 2 spot, and the number 1, Fast 5.
That's a good list. Pretty
I'm
solid.
going to say great rankings. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Joe, will you please find, because yours is part of like a little bit of it's a reply, I believe. So please
It is
hit
a
us with
reply
yours.
to a tweet that says, I'm sorry to all the professionals and fans who follow me for art, but I'll just never apologize for liking the Fast and Furious franchise. It was very reminiscent of Heather. The reply, though, is from Chantel LaBelle at Gemonius Gemini. Hit off the mark. I love Fast and Furious because I'm constantly amazed by the spectacle of it. In Fate of the Furious, I broke into hysterics when they protected Vin Diesel from the explosion. It was just so dumb and cool.
Yes. I agree wholeheartedly.
As a fellow Gemini, we
okay.
agree they are dumb. They are dumb and very cool. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
So what I like about this is, as a fellow Gemini, a singular, we agree. So again, Gemini nature, fucking Looney Tunes, dual personality there. Grammatically incorrect, but I will...
No, but I mean, like, I'm a Gemini, so I was replying the first sentence from me.
Oh, no, I get it. I am also just saying it looks crazy time.
If they're a real Gemini, this should be the bait and hook right there.
It is. This is true. I stand by this. No,
Yeah.
I support you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right,
Like,
Heather.
Geminis know, man.
All right.
Heather, please hit us with yours. Yours is also a reply, but a reply to the same person.
Riley at Ham Robber, which I just love that. Ham Robber. Enjoying my Sunday morning coffee outside on the porch, thinking about Jason Statham fighting his way off of a spy plane while holding a baby in the Fate of the Furious. Wondering if I'll ever think about anything other than Fast and Furious movies ever again. And I want to respond, you can't beat Statham with a baby. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
It's perfect.
Perfect.
And you didn't even talk about him playing the Chipmunks too. Like that's like the icing on
Oh,
such a beautiful
the
scene.
Chipmunks. Like it's the Chipmunks Christmas song, I think.
Yes,
it is, right?
And that means that at one point we have to imagine that either Jason Statham or Deckard Shaw had the Chipmunks Christmas album on their phone.
On his iPod, yeah.
Hey, man, Spotify.
Fucking A, man.
Airplane Wi-Fi.
Either way, he searched it. Just to think that Jason Statham or Deckard Shaw searched for the Chipmunks Christmas album, and he had to recall. That's not something he was like, oh, play like daily radio, like 80s hits. He had to be like, oh, I liked the Chipmunks Christmas album as a child. I will play it for this small child.
It's just his Spotify 2016 Wrapped.
Exactly. Yes.
I just love Ham Robber here. Like, if you continue on in their like chain of tweets, they're tweeting. They're like, before bed last night, Jesse and I were talking about something completely unrelated, and I started cracking up laughing and had to explain, I'm so sorry. I can't stop thinking about the scene with Jason Statham and the baby. And I'm like, I feel you.
Yeah.
It's all I've thought about since Sunday.
It's perfect. It really is.
It's all I've thought about.
Guys, I want to say that I've already gotten a like. It is from Wells, so it doesn't count, but I already got one like on my tweet, so, putting that out there.
Okay.
I know, fine. I'm just saying. We got one more game to play. Dude, what's my car?
Dude, what?
My car.
What?
Your car, dude. So we're doing one from Kara. So Kara messaged me on Facebook a couple months ago and was like, this is a crazy car. And I was like, no, don't tell me here. Email it in and we'll play on the show. She's like, okay. This is, I want to say, okay, no, I can't read the subject of the email because that's the car.
You can't. Nope.
Wow,
you almost screwed this.
I know. So she says, I realized my original message had my father. It was my father-in-law watching the Travel Channel. If it was my actual father, that would be fucking crazy because he'd be a ghost casually watching the Travel Channel.
As you do.
Sorry, Kara. I didn't mean to laugh so hard, but that was just fucking incredible. Thank you.
Okay, so there's some stuff. I'm going to read what she sends a link to the wiki for the car. And then she has some context there, but I don't think I can read the context aloud without spoiling what this is, because there's a very specific, this is a crazy car.
Okay. Crazy. Okay.
Crazy.
Is it cool?
It's unique.
Nobody said yes, so okay.
It's not cool.
It's not cool. It's very of its time, I will say.
Okay.
It is German from the 60s.
It's very of its time.
Okay.
There were 3,800 manufactured. Okay, here, Heather, I'm going to make an executive decision here.
Okay.
Joe does not need to guess this right.
Okay.
But I want him, if he can guess what makes it unique, we'll consider that a win.
Done.
I don't know how to get him to guess that without giving it away. We'll figure that out.
Is it an amphibious vehicle? Is it like half a boat?
It is the Amphicar. Yes,
Wow.
it is.
How about that for Babe Ruthing it, right?
Yeah.
How many other ways could a car be like weirdly unique from the 60s, I guess?
Yeah.
I don't know. And made in Germany. I know that Hitler was into that kind of stuff, like amphibious vehicles.
So I'm going to send you on Facebook
Please.
the wiki article about this. And I'm just going to also send the picture of the car that she took. She says, the excerpt from the Wikipedia article on the car leaves out the wildest part of the segment I overheard. Quote, Johnson, a known practical joker, was said to enjoy frightening visitors at his Johnson City, Texas ranch by driving them downhill in his Amphicar directly into his property's lake, all the while shouting that he had malfunctioning brakes.
That's
She says,
awesome.
what the wiki doesn't mention is that at least one occasion he did this with a prospective cabinet pick as he used such, quote, practical jokes in a vetting system for people he wanted to work with. Since the guy had a good sense of humor about it, he got the job, America, with 7 exclamation points.
Wow. That is awesome. I wish I had an amphibious car so I could do that. I think about amphibious vehicles a lot because in Pittsburgh we have the rivers, and so they have like all of these tours. They call them just ducky tours.
Yeah, the duck tours. Yeah, the duck things. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of like everywhere, but like in Pittsburgh they're kind of ubiquitous because like, you have the rivers, so you like drive around the city and then they just fucking drive you into the river. So
I think they had them in, I want to say they had them in Austin too, and I'm pretty sure they have them in New York. Is the river, the Colorado River.
Okay.
Like kind of bisects the town. I think maybe not. Chicago, probably, possibly. New York, probably, possibly. I don't know.
That's cool, though. And I think that that's really funny, the Johnson story. That's awesome. I would love to drive somebody into a lake and pretend like my brakes were out. Like, oh, fuck! And just, like, drive into this lake. That'd be so much fun.
Scary as hell, too.
No! I mean, like, yes, but, like, once you start laughing when you hit the water, they'd be like, what the fuck? I want somebody to jump out of it. Like, this is a great punked episode of, like, like you take somebody famous in the car and you just drive them into a lake and they're like, shit, and they jump out and you're like, no, just kidding. Now you're wet.
Yeah. Well, Heather, thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me once again.
One more movie. You're almost done.
I'm actually really
pumped
excited
for this next one. I'm so pumped. Like, I was telling Tyler, like, I don't care how stupid and dumb it is because it's these two. Like, this is going to be my favorite movie.
That's what I think so, too.
I think so,
We will
too.
see. Also, I will say that my favorite character in the movie, you don't know yet.
Ooh. I'm ready.
Big surprises.
There's a couple other, like, actual surprises, too, in addition to, like, one of the main characters.
Is there a
but
penguin?
Yeah.
No.
There's not a penguin. There's not a penguin.
Unfortunately.
No.
It's fine.
Heather, what do you want to plug? What do you want to talk about? What's going on?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on. So we talked about last time, Shadow Man #1 is on sale April 28th. So that's coming up very, very soon. So
Ooh,
please,
very
please,
soon.
please go check it out.
Next week, as this comes out.
Yeah.
Next week.
But as this comes out, if you haven't picked it up, last week, the Shadow Man remaster game by Night Dive has been released.
Very cool.
Where
So
can we get it? Where can we get it?
it is available on Steam for PC right now. So you can just type out the Shadow Man game. It will be out on consoles, I think, next month. I'm not 100% on when. Very soon. So, yeah. And then, in addition, because there's just so much going on right now, one of my creator-owned series, comic series through Image, Time Before Time, we talked a little bit about it last time. It's the sci-fi time travel crime book. It is on pre-order now from your local comic shop. So if you have one, please go do that. But if you don't have one, what anyone can do right now is we do have a Kickstarter running for a special exclusive edition process book, which includes, design pages, layouts where you can see how a comic book page goes from script to layout to finished page, interviews with the creators, and a bunch of other really fun exclusive goodies that you can only get on the Kickstarter.
That's
so
very
please,
cool.
please, please go check that out and give us your support.
And just remind people what to search on Kickstarter to find that.
Time Before Time.
Time before time. Not time after time.
No.
Time
Nothing
before
but time before nothing but time.
Nothing but time before not. Yes, perfect.
Well, so Heather, you'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about Hobbs and Shaw. But Joe, between now and then, we have got
Tell me.
a crazy endeavor. Crazy endeavors may be too strong, but we've got a project that spans time and space and 3 different platforms.
Time before time.
Time before time, time during time, and time after time.
Okay.
Next week on this very feed, we're doing Shogun Assassin,
One of my favorite fucking movies. I love this movie so much.
which is the movie that is
good.
watched at the end of Kill Bill 2,
Yes.
which I will not say the context of, because that is a spoiler for Kill Bill 2.
You've been doing really good at not spoiling movies everyone's seen today.
I know.
Good job.
Heather, in the intro,
Joey-
I said,
Joey
if you have not
gave
seen The
spoilers
Godfather
for-
yet, it's pretty good. So next week is Shogun Assassin. Then, so the backstory here is that Shogun Assassin is an Americanized cut of the first 2 movies in a Japanese film series called Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yep.
So the first 2 movies of that are called Lone Wolf and Cub Sword of Vengeance and Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart at the River Styx. And so they took those 2 movies and they did like most of
Americanized
one
them,
and
yeah.
a little bit of another, and they put it into Shogun Assassin. They released
Yep.
that. So we're doing that on the feed here next Tuesday. Cool. Then over on Third Time's a Charm, because Mike Manzi, the resident story Mike Manzi, will be here talking about that, because
We
on
haven't talked
his
to him in a while.
podcast,
Yeah.
we are going to do the 3rd Lone Wolf and Cub movie, Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart to Hades, which is also called Shogun Assassin 2, Lightning Swords of Death, if you want to be confusing about it. But Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart to Hades, we will be doing on Mike's podcast. And then, that's not enough. Then, as our Patreon bonus episode for May, we are doing Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart in Peril, which is the 4th film in the series, also known as Shogun Assassin 3, Slashing Blades of Carnage. Then there's 2 more beyond that we're not going to cover, but there are 6 Lone Wolf and Cub movies. We're effectively covering 4 across 3 episodes, 2 on here, 1 on the main feed,
2 3s for Mike.
2
there.
3s.
Yeah.
Here, Patreon, Mike's podcast, Third Time's a Charm, all over the place. But just watch those. There's a beautiful Criterion box set of those. They might be on the Criterion channel as well. They're out there.
Shogun
They are
Assassin's fucking awesome. It's
cool.
It's so cool.
So Lone Wolf and Cub, just get on that, because there's a bunch of that. And I think they're all short. Like Shogun Assassin's like 80 minutes. Like I think they're all like relatively short, which is nice.
All you
So
need to know is sometimes you gotta take a risk if you want to take a bath. That's all I gotta say about that.
that's all we got. So Shogun Assassin next week, Hobbs and Shaw in 2 weeks. But Heather, thank you again once
Thank
again
you,
for joining
Heather.
us.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
I'm so glad that you actually enjoyed this one.
Yeah, no.
You gotta let it marinate, but it's okay.
No, Joey, whenever I text you, it's never mean-spirited. It's never. It's more out of anything, it's just shock and exasperation and just so many questions.
So many questions.
I just
that's fair.
so many questions.
Totally
I guess I was just caught off guard by the quote, how the fuck is there an hour left in this movie? What did you make me watch?
That's fair. That's totally fair. 100%. Yeah, we got to a point, I can't remember what exactly. Oh, I think it was like right when they went to quote unquote Russia, obviously Iceland. I just had this moment of like, how is there an hour left of this movie? This is very clearly the climax, right?
Yeah, it feels like that a lot in Fast and Furious movies sometimes, right?
Well, you forgot the most important thing. Every movie must end in a barbecue.
That's true. That is true. But little did I know, Jason Statham and a baby was waiting for me. So
on the other side.
Yeah.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFast2Forever.com. Like Joe picked out in the hat before, Undying Love and Affection available to you for as low as $1 a month. What are you doing? Don't you want to be loved in this world?
Someone will. We need somebody to love.
To know that someone would love you forever for $1 a month, or if you want stickers, or if you want to pick what we watch, or if you want a swag bag, all there at TooFast2Forever.com. Also, we got a store, TooFast2Forever.shop, if you want some cool stickers and t-shirts and whatever. Come back next week for Shogun Assassin, and in 2 weeks for Hobbs and Shaw. I'm sorry, The Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
True.
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And that was Heather Antos, and we'll tell you all about it.
We see you